Hello, everyone. My name is Hilda Dzietror. I am a student at Rutgers University in Newark, New Jersey. We have three campuses that encompass all of Rutgers University. I'm on the Newark campus. We have two people here from the New Brunswick campus, and then we have the Camden campus. This story that my class for my advanced journalism course last semester, we wrote a story on how we felt that RUPD, Rutgers University Police Department, was unprepared in their procedures for active shooting training for students on campus. And I guess the first point when it comes to just writing any story is there a story? The point of this story wasn't to take down RUPD or to criticize them, but pretty much just getting a scope of what their procedures are with this type of issue, especially since we've been seeing an increase of mass shootings across the country. So with this story, what we did was we divided this class into a few groups. It was about a 20-person class. We had a research group, we had a writing group, people that did student interviews, persons of authority interviews, and personally, I was part of the writing group, so I was tasked with getting the entire story, which was taking all of the research that we did, all the interviewers, and just trying to make sense of, is this story relevant, and who is the story going to benefit, and if we do harm people, how do we lessen that as much as possible? Interviewing persons of authority. So originally that was something that my friend Courtney wrote in the back, wave your hand, Courtney, that she was tasked with doing. And my professor, Professor Robin Fisher, she asked me to join on that team to help her out. The weird thing about the persons of authority were that they were really making Courtney go in circles when she was trying to contact them. We were emailing them really incessantly, calling them. We were getting redirected to numbers that didn't exist. We were getting, we were being put on hold a lot of the time. So one day after class, we just said, I think the best policy is just we need to just go down there to their headquarters, and that's what we did. So one day after class, Courtney and I, we went down to Bruce Street in Newark, New Jersey. It's right next to University Hospital, which is the hospital of Rutgers University. And we just walked through the door. The door was open of the headquarters. We went through the lobby. No one was there. And we said, no, we're here, so we're going to wait. And then we were greeted by Police Chief John Huertas. And we told him who we were, and he immediately knew who we were. So he told us, hey, just give us a minute. And he left. He went to go tell his people that we were here. And then he took us into a boardroom. He closed the doors, and two of his police chiefs also followed him. And they all knew who we were as well. So it was nice that we were able to track them down. We spent about 3 hours in that boardroom just asking and answering questions and getting as much information as possible. I spoke with Stephen Kellerman, who is actually the Director of Office of Emergency Management at Rutgers University. He is at the New Brunswick campus, and that's the largest campus of Rutgers University. I spent about a half hour talking with him over the phone, and one quote that I really thought was very important to me, and especially with this story, I asked him to kind of explain how he was able to get a grasp or sense of what students feel like their level of safety is on all three campuses. And as you can see, this was his quote, I'll read it to you. It says, at this point, anyone that's been in a school system in the United States, pretty much from kindergarten up through high school, has gone through the active shooter training. This is what he told me. This is a direct quote. And this was published in that story. I will leave it to you to decide what you want to do with this quote. One thing that I also went over with Stephen Kellerman is I emailed him and I asked him, can you please give me a database of all the instances in which you've had active shooter drills on the Newark campus? This was the first active shooter drill that they had in 2016. He sent me one other date, which was March 17th, 2017. So that's a total of 2. And we are in 2019. We're about to go in April. There still has only been 2 of these active shooter drills. This is another quote from that meeting that I had, Courtney and I, with John Huertas. I asked him, because one phrase that we kept using was active shooter emergency training or drills, just to be specific. We weren't really, our story really didn't go as broad as all of the emergency drills that are provided on campus or emergency situations, because there's a whole list. There's, biohazardous chemical spills, or maybe any nuclear threats or fire drills. Those are all different procedures that you have to take into account very separately. And we felt like, for the purpose of the story, that active shooter drills is something that is very, very specific, but especially in this day and age, it's something that's happening so much, we need to reprioritize it just a little bit. And as we were talking to him, he interjected to me and said, I don't like calling them active shooter scenarios. I think that they're called critical incidents. You can also do what you want with that quote as well. And just another quote from a student that we met at the Newark campus. Her name is Shamika Tinnen. She goes to Rutgers University and she lives in Newark, New Jersey. And I think this really just brings together the entire story, that even though people expect us to know these types of common sense sort of ideals about just like emergency drills, especially active shooter drills, she herself still didn't know what she would do when we asked her. And panicking is probably the first thing that you're going to do if you ever hear something that will startle you, excuse me. But when we asked people to give us kind of a detailed idea, or any idea that they had about what they would do, they didn't know how to respond. So that's something that we kept getting as we kept interviewing people. And just to wrap up, we saw the type of response that we got from RUPD after they knew that we were writing a story on them, and they've been trying to get better out doing some student outreach and getting surveys of how safe students feel on campus, and hopefully in the near future they start giving more alternatives to students on how they can ensure their safety on campus. I know that the idea of going through a drill is something that can be very unsettling, especially when it's something that is supposed to prevent danger, but just to make sure that students have the resources that they need in order to keep themselves safe, I mean, I don't feel like that can harm anybody. So, thank you.